What if I told you that behind the image of American royalty, one woman's life has been marked by unimaginable heartbreak, endless loss, and a shadow that never seems to lift? Ethel Kennedy, once the vibrant wife of Senator Robert F. Kennedy, has lived through tragedy after tragedy, and the full story is even more heartbreaking than you think. Ethel Skakel Kennedy once embodied the bright promise of the American dream. Born into a wealthy and influential family, she married Robert F. Kennedy in 1950, becoming part of the nation's most famous political dynasty. With her spirited personality and unwavering devotion to her husband, Ethel quickly won the hearts of many Americans. The couple went on to have 11 children, and their home was filled with the sounds of laughter, faith, and a shared sense of mission. But beneath the joy, a storm was quietly building, one that would change the course of her life forever. The first blow came in 1968, when Robert F. Kennedy, then a leading candidate for the presidency, was assassinated in Los Angeles. Just like that, Ethel went from the hopeful wife of a future president to a widow raising 11 children alone. The nation mourned alongside her, but no one could fully grasp the private weight she carried. Overnight, her world was shattered, and the Kennedy curse, a phrase that had already haunted the family, seemed to tighten its grip. Yet, as devastating as her husband's murder was, the tragedies didn't stop there. Over the decades, Ethel would endure loss after loss, each one compounding the grief of the last. Her son David died at just 28 years old from a drug overdose, a heartbreaking reflection of the struggles many of the Kennedy children faced as they grew up under immense public scrutiny. Then, in 1997, another son, Michael, died in a skiing accident. Each loss cut deeper, reopening wounds that had never healed. Ethel's life became a haunting mirror of the family's darkest legacy. Where once there had been political promise, there was now mourning, scandals, and struggles with addiction that seemed to plague generation after generation. Despite the tragedies, Ethel rarely spoke publicly about her grief. Those who knew her described her as deeply religious and stoic, channeling her strength into her children and into the Robert F. Kennedy Human Rights Organization, which carried forward her husband's commitment to justice and equality. But behind closed doors, the weight was crushing. Friends and family often remarked that Ethel's once lively spirit seemed dimmed, her life defined not by the dazzling promise of Camelot, but by the relentless march of sorrow. By the time she entered her later years, the matriarch of the Kennedy clan had lived through more heartbreak than most people could imagine. Even now, the tragedies linked to her family continue to surface. Her granddaughter, Saoirse Kennedy Hill, died in 2019 at just 22 from an accidental overdose, once again drawing the world's attention to the seemingly unending misfortunes surrounding the Kennedys. For Ethel, now in her 90s, the grief is a lifelong companion, a cruel reminder that her family's story is as much about heartbreak as it is about history. The tragedy of Ethel Kennedy just keeps getting sadder because her life embodies both the brilliance and the darkness of the American dream. She was a woman who loved deeply, stood by her husband's side in moments of triumph, and carried her family through unimaginable loss. Yet no matter how much strength she displayed, the shadows of the Kennedy curse never left her. So, why does Ethel Kennedy's story still resonate so strongly today? Because it reminds us that behind the glamour of fame and power lies the raw reality of human suffering. For Ethel, the world will always remember her as the widow of Robert F. Kennedy. But her legacy is also one of endurance, resilience, and sorrow that refuses to fade.